Hello, I'm Greg Jarrett. You are in the strategy room. Nearly 5 million illegal immigrants living here in the U.S. are stuck in limbo as President Obama's executive action preventing their deportation blocked yet again, this time by a court of appeals. Republicans have criticized that plan as an illegal executive overreach, and 26 states had challenged it in court. A Department of Justice spokesperson said in a statement they are committed to resolving the immigration litigation. Let me quote here. Allow DHS to bring greater accountability to our immigration system by prioritizing the removal of the worst offenders, not people who have long ties to the U.S. and who are raising American children. The statement did not specify, however, the department's next steps. They're going to appeal it. They just didn't say when, and that would be to the Supreme Court. So joining me now with analysis are political strategist David Mercer, Brad Blakeman. David, welcome to you both. David, let me start with you.
Sure.
I actually took the time to read all 70 pages of the majority opinion. It was a 2-1. There was also a dissent. And essentially, without ever mentioning the president's name, the Court of Appeals said, look, what you're doing here is wrong. You're usurping the power of Congress. You're defying existing law. But most of all, they said you are imposing huge financial burdens on the states, and you didn't follow the legal and legislative process in doing it. So you were wrong to do it. A big blow to President Obama, isn't it, and his legacy?
Well, as we know, it's in the Court of Appeals. As you alluded to, it could be go back to Texas. It could also go direct to the Supreme Court. So this is just one battle in the war in trying to get the best processes in place in order to manage the current immigration issues that we face, especially in lieu of the fact that Congress, in the House particularly, wouldn't take up the immigration bill. And we've even lately heard from the new speaker that he is not going to bring a reform bill on immigration to the floor. So in the meantime, it's now being arbitrated and defined in the courts, and that will hopefully lead to clarifications with regard to immigration reform in lieu of the default by Congress.
Now, I mean, you read the 70-page opinion, and you get the very clear sense here that they recognize that this is a president who essentially, by executive fiat, suddenly and magically granted legal status to some 5 million people and conferring thereby all kinds of expensive benefits, and the court named them: Social Security, disability, Medicare, unemployment insurance, subsidized driver's license, the list goes on and on. A lot of those costs are borne by the states, unfair to those states.
No question about it. And the bottom line is this fits with the president's modus operandi, and that is, if you don't like what I'm doing, sue me. And we sue you all the time, whether it's on health care, whether it's on this. And the president that has no bounds to his legal authority is the most dangerous president. Thank God we have a judicial process, the third layer of government, to put a halt to the president's overreach. It's a clear overreach. He's supposed to, in his oath of office, uphold the laws, not pick and choose those he seeks to enforce. Yeah. And this is a clear rebuke of the president that is likely to be heard before he leaves office.
You know, David, when the president announced his decision to grant this to 5 million undocumented immigrants here, he said he had the prosecutorial discretion. Well, the court didn't buy it. I'll quote page 37 of their opinion. Declining to prosecute does not transform presence deemed unlawful by Congress into lawful presence. You know, David, it doesn't help your case when you say 22 times beforehand, as President Obama did, I don't have the legal authority to do this, then you do it. And the Court of Appeals can't ignore that.
Well, as you mentioned, I trust you read not only the majority opinion, but also the minority opinion, which touched very much by that justice on this point, and that is that you do go at this in a prosecutorial discretion of how to best manage it. And again, as I mentioned earlier, the courts are now trying to define where does that discretion begin and where does it end. But if I can also add that for Brad to say this is the most dangerous president with nothing to back it up, when the previous president,
his actions.
Yeah, well, you didn't name those actions, and I remember
This
two wars that the Republican president got us into that put us in a lot more danger than this current president, just to put that in perspective.
Right. Gentlemen, we're going to have to leave it at that. We have received word the Department of Justice is going to appeal to the Supreme Court, although I do not think they have yet said which term. You know, they're going to try to squeeze it in this term before the president leaves office or the next term. One might bet that if the White House thinks the president is going to lose at the Supreme Court, they'll put off till the next term when he's out of office. Then it's a moot point. David and Brad, thank you both for joining me. You can check out foxnews.com for more on this developing story. I'm Greg Jarrett. Thanks for watching.